and to start my own remarks by acknowledging the intent and work behind this private member's bill. I know the area of hate crime is of particular interest to the Senator, and I am aware of her track record and considerable work in trying to advance the legislative position in recent years. The proposals in this bill reflect the vital public interest in protecting persons from the harm caused by crimes which are motivated by hate and motivated by prejudice. I thank the Senators for their contributions, and I will address some of the issues throughout my response, and I will be relaying the Senators' contributions to Minister McEntee. I think it's fair to say that Ireland's historic approach to hate crime was perhaps defined by a sense that Ireland was a place where very few minorities lived, and so we believed that hate crime didn't really exist to any significant extent. Our society has changed and is so very colourful and diverse in comparison with the country of 50 years ago. And we must acknowledge the reality that Ireland has always had minorities and categories of people that were treated shamefully. Often there were people who didn't have a voice and weren't listened to or taken seriously. I am proud to see that we are taking serious steps now to improve our criminal law in this important area, and I congratulate the Senator for her work in developing a genuine, concrete attempt to do just that. A deeper understanding of the problems and dangers of hate and division has now developed in Ireland, reflecting developments internationally. Academics and experts have for some time called for effective legislation to deal with these problems swiftly and effectively wherever they occur. The work done by Senator Loughlin is one part of that and is to be welcomed for that reason. Hate crimes cause very serious harm. They are especially serious because they are often used as a way of sending a signal to certain groups of people that they are not safe, not wanted, not entitled to the same freedoms as everybody else. This signal is not intended just for the victim, but for their whole community, for everyone who is like them. These crimes spread fear, anger, and division. They make our societies less safe for everyone. Because of this, they are everyone's problem. They need to be taken very seriously. The development of new legislation in this area has wide community and cross-party support, which I welcome. The Government has reiterated its commitment to introducing such legislation in the Programme for Government, Our Shared Future. Turning to the bill at hand, there is no doubt that the issues which the bill seeks to address are difficult and complex. This is why such significant and comprehensive work has been undertaken already by the Department of Justice to ensure that the different groups which will be impacted by hate crime legislation or who have expertise and experience working in the area have an opportunity to feed into the development of that legislation. As well as a formal public consultation, engagement with civil society organisations and other experts is an ongoing feature of the development of the legislation. And I would like to acknowledge the significant contribution made to the work by all of those who have been so generous with their expertise and with sharing their stories, even though for some of our contributors this will have been a painful process. I want to acknowledge that and thank those people. A report on the results of the consultation and research in this regard will be published by Minister McEntee shortly. This work has provided very valuable insights which will inform the legislative proposals which the Minister has committed to publishing in the early part of 2021. As Senators may be aware, the Minister's work in this area reflects a programme for Government commitment to introduce legislation within 12 months. Once published, the Government's legislative proposals will go forward to the Oireachtas Justice Committee and begin a process of comprehensive pre-legislative scrutiny. There will be ample opportunity for the members of this House and other Oireachtas colleagues to participate and to contribute further to discussions during that process. And the Minister is looking forward to seeing those results of the scrutiny process further inform and improve the legislative proposals. The emotive and sensitive nature of the subject matter here makes it particularly important that the debate around new hate crime legislation is as coherent and factually based as possible, and that any new legislative proposals in this regard are clear, proportionate and evidence-based. While the bill at hand is a genuine attempt to address the issues, there are parts of the bill which would benefit from further detailed scrutiny and consultation. On the most fundamental level, I am advised that the proposed definition of hate crime in the bill would not be suitable for the use in criminal legislation. It is based on a definition used by An Garda Síochána for investigative purposes and is very useful and suitable in that context. However, the use of such a broad definition in criminal legislation, where an offence could be a hate crime where the victim or any other person perceives it to be so, is not something the Minister is considering. It will be important in bringing forward Government legislation in this area that any new definition of hate crime is workable and clear and respects the correct balance of rights needed in order to ground a criminal prosecution. It is critically important that any legislation to deal with hate crime balances the important need to protect people from very real and harmful impact of these crimes while also protecting the human rights of those accused of wrongdoing. There are certain legal and drafting issues with the bill which the Senator may wish to consider further. For example, some of the key definitions will need to be examined again to ensure that they do not cause unintended cross-cutting effects, and the sentencing provisions will need careful calibration to ensure they are proportionate and do not encroach on the independence of the judiciary. We also need to be particularly mindful of the role of the jury in finding a person guilty of a crime. The section of the bill dealing with the hate element of the crime in question and how a person is able to defend themselves in relation to this part of the offence would also benefit from careful examination. On a final point, the exclusion of offences which are prosecuted summarily from the scope of the bill is something that needs further consideration and perhaps consultation with those familiar with such prosecutions to ensure the most common forms of offences are not out of the scope. In relation to the matter not currently being a priority legislation, the priority for the Minister first was to get that level of public consultations, and we had almost 4,000 contributions in that respect. And Senator Flynn rightly pointed out, nothing about me without me, and that was the important part of those consultations, so that people would be able to have that contributions, whether there was individuals, civic society or organisations. And I acknowledge, as Senator Bakish says, the work of Inar and Dr. Schwepp and all of those who made very significant contributions in that respect. It's not possible to put this as priority legislation until there is a scheme of bill prepared and sent to the OPC. So it is very much priority for the government, and it will be priority legislation as soon as we get that scheme done and it is brought to the OPC. And the Minister expects to have that scheme of the bill ready in the very early part of 2021. So I can assure the Senators this is priority for the government and will be priority legislation in the new year. Overall, I would like to acknowledge again the work of Senator O'Loughlin and congratulate her on bringing this bill forward. We all, as legislators, have a grave responsibility to make sure that our society can deal effectively with hate crime. A great number of people are relying on us in this regard, and it has taken too long today to get to this point. A collegiate and collaborative approach will be of enormous importance as the government legislative proposals on both hate crime and incitement to hatred are developed and go through the scrutiny process in the coming months in accordance with the programme for government commitments. I would ask for the support of everyone here for the important work that this will involve. I thank the Senator again for bringing this bill here today. I can assure all of the Senators that their contributions will all be a valuable addition to this process and taken into consideration. And I thank the Gaeltacht and the Senators for your attention.